Hello and welcome to another video by Econo Insight. In this video, we will discuss the concept of lifetime budget constraint. This concept is fairly intuitive, but I'm gonna present it with some variables in mind so we can make it more technical and we can see directly, explicitly the trade-offs in our so-called lifetime budget constraint. Before we dive into what the lifetime budget constraint is, let's first start with our saving decision, how we decide to save and how it looks like in an equation, our investment decision, what is it, and we ended with the lifetime budget constraint, which combines both equations. So first, we have our saving decision. Intuitively, if you get a certain income, there is some portion of income you consume and some portion of income that you save. So how do we represent that? We represent that in a budget constraint. So we have WT, right, which is our earnings. I'm going to write it down. Earnings is equivalent to CY, T plus A T plus 1. CY, T is consumption. C is consumption. Y is young. Consumption when young. So consumption young. I'm just going to put here. AT plus 1 stands for the amount of assets you save and bring into old age. That's why it's T plus 1, right? It's the thing that you bring into another period. In this case, old age. So I'm going to write it there. AT plus 1 is amount of assets you save and bring into old age. So this equation makes sense. It's basically saying that our earnings, some of it we consume, some of it we save. So I hope that part makes sense. Now, after we know how we save, let's see how we invest. It's our investment decision. So I'm going to write it here. Investment decision. Note that if you invest something, you will get something in return. So you will get your principal, which is the amount you invest, and you will get the interest rate from what you invested. That's common sense. So how do we present that in an equation? So we simply say AT plus 1, which is the amount of assets that we save, bracket 1 plus RT plus 1. RT plus 1 is simply refers to the return you earn of your investment of AT plus 1. So the return on investment is equivalent to CO, T plus 1. CO means consumption when old. O means old. Consumption when old. So in this case, consumption when old is the amount you save multiplied by 1 and multiplied also by the returns on the investment. So it's the equation is saying basically that you get to consume when old the amount you invested, AT plus 1, plus the return on your assets, which is AT plus 1, RT plus 1. So if you distribute it, then you get AT plus 1 plus this. That's the basic logic behind it. Now, how do we combine it? So now let's add the equations that we have. We have this. We have WT equals CY, T plus AT plus 1. That's our first equation. Our second equation is CO, T plus 1 equals AT plus 1 bracket 1 plus RT plus 1. How do we combine it to make our lifetime budget constraint? So lifetime budget constraint, the intuition is it wants to present our basic trade-off. It wants to see what is the trade-off if we consume more when we're young and when we consume more when we're old. So let's before we get to that, let's see how we can manipulate the equation. We have the first equation and the second equation. Now let's see, I want to get AT. I want to isolate AT in the second equation. So I get AT plus 1 equals CO, T plus 1. Then I move this to the left hand side, right? It becomes 1 plus RT plus 1. So you could rewrite AT plus 1 in this way. And now, given this, substitute it to our first equation, which is WT. So WT equals CY, comma T plus AT plus 1. In this case, we know AT plus 1, we can be represented in this way from the second equation. So we plug that. So AT plus 1 is CO, comma T plus 1 over 1 plus RT plus 1. So now we have derived our budget constraint. So this is our lifetime budget constraint. And if you see directly from the equation, you can see that this equation presents our basic trade-off. Given our WT, which is our lifetime earnings, and the return we get, right? We get from our savings. So we get our return on our savings here. We get our consumption when we're old and consumption when we're young. We could somehow see if we consume more when we're young, it means consuming less when we are old, and vice versa. How do we demonstrate that in a budget constraint? So now let's plot our budget constraint. So we have, if you're familiar with microeconomics, then this helps. So we have a budget constraint. In our x-axis, we have CYT. Our y-axis, we have COT. CO, comma T plus 1. So in this case, we are trying to present trade-off from our lifetime budget equation, budget constraint. I'm going to write it down again. YT equals CYT, comma T, plus CO, comma T plus 1 over 1 plus RT plus 1. So let's say, if we consume every single penny of the wage when we're young, that means we're consuming everything on the x-axis, right? So that is when the CY, so in that case, consumption when old is 0 because we're consuming everything when we're young. So that means, so we could draw this. We could draw a linear with an x-intercept and a y-intercept. So our x-intercept, meaning consuming everything when we're young, is WT. And why is this? Because if we let's say we set this to 0, we make consumption when we're old 0, then it will be 0 out of 1 plus RT plus 1, which is 0, and our CYT will equal WT. This one will be gone. So, and that's how we can show it in our graph. On our y-axis means that if we consume everything and we're old and nothing when we're young, then we simply set CYT plus 1, CY plus T, which is consumption when young, equals to 0 because we're consuming everything when we're old and nothing when we're young, and we simply get COT plus 1 equals WT multiplied by RT plus 1. So the y-intercept here, right, is, the y-intercept here is YT 1 plus RT plus 1. And any point in this, any point in our line is the combination of our consumption when young and consumption when old. But the most important thing about this lifetime budget constraint is for you to understand the trade-off, simple trade-off, that if you consume more when we're young, that means it means you consume less when you're old.